Want to see more cool videos on our channel? We do, so press this bell and enable to send notifications.
The death of a royal figure is treated with utmost importance across every monarchy and ex-monarchy across the world. Even so, in the aftermath of Queen Elizabeth II's death, the world will witness the unfolding of a preparation plan like nobody has seen before. If there was ever any doubt about the bond between people and their sovereign, the death of the Queen will likely shake them out. For a while, the world will stop buzzing to mourn the passing of the oldest monarch of Great Britain. But unlike other terrible historical events to which we've been forced to respond, this one has been thoroughly planned by the Britons. To cope with the death of its Queen, Britain has created an extremely elaborate plan which has been kept secret for a long time. That is, until Sam Knight, a journalist for The Guardian, published an article that cracked the plan, inviting us all into the monarchy's biggest mystery. Although we're not certain whom Sam Knight interviewed, we know that the Buckingham Palace, government and BBC, the national news publication, hold the plans and backup plans for the Queen's demise. Medical care. Every possible scenario has been considered. Most likely, however, it's expected that the Queen will die after a short illness. If one thing is certain, it's that the monarch won't be left to suffer. In 1936, the last British monarch to have died, George VI, was helped to his death by the family's doctor, Lord Dawson, who injected the king with a gram of cocaine and 750 milligrams of morphine to end his suffering. But there was another, darker reason behind it. Since his death was inevitable, officials wanted to at least time it perfectly so that printing presses could share the news the next morning. It may not be the case this time around, since the core of news media has moved online. The news. The news about the Queen's demise will likely reach our ears soon after she passes. The protocol, however, will try to stop the news from spreading, at least for a while. It requires the Queen's private secretary, Sir Christopher Gite, to contact the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and deliver a secret code that conveys the message about the Queen's death. For George VI, this was Hyde Park Corner. For Queen Elizabeth II, it's supposed to say London Bridge is down, but with the code now out in the open, we're guessing it's changed. After the Prime Minister, the news will travel to the Foreign Office's Global Response Centre and further to 15 governments where the Queen is a state leader and 36 nations of the Commonwealth where she's a symbolic figure. While Prime Ministers, Governors and Ambassadors will be the first to know after the royal family, the rest of us won't be left in the dark for too long. The monopoly of the monarchy over media has ended a long time ago. The announcement will likely reach the Press Association and the rest of the world soon after the Prime Minister is informed. Let's recall the death of Princess Diana in 1997. Journalists picked on the news just 15 minutes after her death, as they were accompanying the former Foreign Secretary in the Philippines. How will media organisations cover such mournful news? When George VI died, BBC sent the message 7 times every 15 minutes, after which they stopped their activity for 5 hours. A similar approach is expected when the beloved Queen passes away. BBC will likely go silent for a while, not after playing a well-rehearsed announcement for the population. Wait, the announcement will have been rehearsed? Oh yes, multiple times. It said that BBC News employees have been rehearsing mock storylines for different royal personalities for over 30 years. Other publications, such as The Guardian and The Times, likely have entire days of coverage ready to be published when the time comes. It's easy to understand why. Finding the right words to express the sorrow that comes with a monarch's absence is a difficult task. Most Britons alive today have only known her as their sovereign. She currently stands as the icon of the British monarchy. In response, the Radio Alert Transmission System, or RAT, will also be activated. This is an alarm as old as the Cold War and has since been used by BBC to support the rehearsals and rituals accompanying the death of royal celebrities. Most employees and the current staff haven't even heard how RAT sounds yet, but they will when the Queen dies. Britain's commercial radio companies also share a network of special lights called the OBIT lights, which are meant to start flashing when national catastrophes are announced. We know by now that the Queen's demise will be treated as a national catastrophe. These flashes signal DJs to stop any program and play sound music playlists that are being prepared beforehand. More subtly, the radio music will alert us that something terrible has happened. Finally, social media will likely explode. This will be the first time when a British monarch's death will be covered on online social media platforms, and we expect it to be monumental. Even though it won't be as dramatic and emotional as the coverage of Princess Diana's passing, the Queen's death will reach much further and have much more important implications for nations around the world. Social media, from Facebook to Twitter, will play an important role, as leaders will hurry to share their regrets, but also thoughts regarding the future of the British monarchy. More on the plan. The mourning period will last at least 9 days, named the D-Day, D+1, and so on. There's a plan for each and every single day to include specific rituals and commemorate the life of the Queen and allow the population to grieve. Her initial resting place will be prepared in the throne room in Buckingham Palace and will be guarded by 4 Grenadier Guards. The staff has already been trained on strict procedures. Everybody knows what to do. In the first day, the whole country will take down flags and cathedrals will ring their bells. The Sebastopol bell at Westminster Abbey, for example, was tolled 56 times on the death of George VI, one for each year of his life. The same can be expected for the Queen. There will be thousands of preparations in the days to follow, cleaning Westminster Hall, converting the streets into ceremonial spaces, practicing the carrying of the coffin. The Queen's coffin will have a false lid to hold the crown jewels, and the rim on top will measure at least 3 inches in height. It'll be moved in the 4th day to Westminster Hall, where it will be displayed for another 4 days. This will be the first impressive military parade of London Bridge, firing guns and gathering hundreds of thousands of people. 500,000 people are expected to visit the Queen's coffin during its stay in the hall. European royal families who visit during the grieving period will stay at the palace. Claridge's Hotel will host the other guests. Outside London, the crowds will be able to follow the event through big screens. On the day of the funeral, most of the country will stop working. Shops, banks and the stock market will close. Football stadiums may hold memorial services. When the coffin, stripped of the royal jewellery, reaches the Abbey, the whole country will go silent. Land transport will stop and flights are expected to announce it and hold a moment of silence. Prayers will be held inside the Abbey. The Royal Navy will then take the coffin on a green gun carriage to the Royal Chapel. The broadcasting will stop. The 10 days of sorrow and spectacle will end, and the Britons will wake up to a new king. Or at least, this is the plan. The London Bridge plan has been first designed in the 1960s and refined multiple times since then. 2 or 3 times a year, various representatives of the palace, the government, the army and the church, among other parties, have gathered to discuss the plans. Everyone will be expecting flawless execution. Of course, there are also backup plans prepared. What if the Queen dies abroad? What if she's in Scotland, where she spends a quarter of the year? Everything has been considered. The royal flight jet awaits to take off from Northolt with a coffin prepared on board to take the Queen back to England. If she dies in Scotland, on the other hand, another set of rituals has been prepared. The Scottish will first organise a place for her to rest at the Holyrood House Palace in Edinburgh, where she'll be guarded by the Royal Company of Archers. Her coffin will then be taken for the reception at St Giles Cathedral, and from then she'll be boarded on the royal train towards the East Coast Main Line. Behind the train, another locomotive will follow to clear the tracks from the flowers thrown by the crowds who are expected to greet the train in the stations. The aftermath. Not everything about the Second Elizabethan reign will be remembered with fondness. The nation's grandeur after World War II has steadily declined ever since. It has even begun to disintegrate. Scotland already held a referendum to obtain independence from the United Kingdom. A second referendum could be on its way, especially the UK's recent separation from the EU. That's not to say that any of it will be considered her fault. She did as she declared on her 21st birthday in 1947 upon her coronation. She devoted her whole life to the service of British people. If anything, she kept the spirit of the monarchy and the memory of the great victories of the past alive. All of it will be remembered in the obituary films that will be shown everywhere after her death. And what will happen after the sorrow and spectacle end? Coping with the aftermath will likely be the next great challenge for the House of Windsor. The royal family remains, after all, the last one in Europe to practice coronations. The day after the Queen's death, at 11 a.m. sharp, Charles will be proclaimed the new king. In the entree room of St James's Palace, the Accession Council will convene, carrying a tradition of more than 1,000 years. The new king will start touring the country, mourning alongside the people, and trying, as the Queen did, to be seen. We are surely impressed by the extensive and detailed plan the UK has set up for their Queen's demise. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by clicking the like button. Do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch up my next video.